Wake up, loser. A slap on the head. Now, little brother. Podrick. My older sister, Cynthia, was always the one to wake me up. And take responsibility in general. But when I wanted to be lazy, the extended out name always did that. I couldn't ignore it. Okay, what does Mom want? Sorry, we have to do some shopping for me. It will be boring for you. Just take a shower so we can have breakfast and get out of here. Cynthia was always bossy to me, but not to be bad, just to keep me punctual and responsible. But she could still be annoying. And I was always the little brother. She was good at looking out for me, and had been a good friend growing up, although I could tell as she got older, she wasn't putting up with me as much. I took a shower and then remembered I had to throw yesterday's jeans in the dirty laundry. I slid down a muddy hill while in the park, so they would have to be washed. Well, CYN had always passed hand-me-down jeans to me, so I asked her, "Nope, all ready for washing, little bro." "But we're supposed to go shopping with Mom?" CYN replied. "Yes. Duh. If you don't have any to wear, you can borrow something else from me." She walked over to the closet of our shared bedroom and pulled a dress out of her side of the closet. "Sorry, no clean pants left, but this will suit you just fine. It's getting small for me, so I'll probably never wear it again anyway." "Are you ready for breakfast, kids?" Mom yelled from the kitchen of the small apartment. "Hurry up." "Sometimes you are so annoying," my sister hissed. So I relented and pulled the dress over my t-shirt and underwear. We had to share a room most of our life, so being half-dressed in front of each other was no big deal. It was of classic blue and white nautical stripes, a full skirt, and large white collar. Just then, Mom walked in and stared for a moment before saying, "Come on and eat. Patrick messed up his jeans yesterday, and doesn't have anything to wear, so I'm loaning him this dress for today. Are we going to the laundromat soon?" "Maybe tomorrow," Mom said. "I have a lot to worry about the rest of the month." True, Mom was always fretting about rent and bills at the end of each month, even in our small apartment. And she smiled. "You don't look half bad, Pat." We all ate breakfast quickly, as Mom explained we had to get a few items of clothing for Cynthia. She's a growing girl, true, she was definitely hitting her spurt and had grown a few inches above me in just the last few months. And then groceries for the week. "You might not be able to wear her hand-me-downs anymore, Pat, although that dress does look good on you." I blushed as Cynthia chimed in, "Sure does, Mom. Really cute." As soon as we finished the meal, Mom was in charge. "Pat, clear the dishes for Cynthia to wash." "Yes, Mom," we replied in unison, as we had together for a few years. It always cracked us up. After the giggles subsided, we cleaned up and Cynthia said, "Those blue tennis shoes you have will look perfect with this outfit. And I'll loan you some cute socks. If you're going to wear my dress, you're going to look good in it." Back in our bedroom, Cynthia took a pair of white ankle socks with ruffles out of her drawer. "These are kind of girly," I said, and of course she replied, "Duh. You don't want to look like a boy when you're wearing my dress. Now it's your dress." I knew better to argue, and put them on, followed by the sneakers she had suggested. "Yes, that works." "Very nice." I assumed we were ready to go, but CYN had more in mind. "Your hair is cute." Indeed, it was close to shoulder length, so we can have fun with it. She placed 2 butterfly-shaped clips in my hair to pull it back slightly and gave it a brush, then nodded. "Next," she said, "and here's a purse for you to carry. You can put your wallet, keys and phone in it, since there aren't any pockets in your dress." She grabbed them from our bedroom table and placed the inside the little blue shoulder purse, which she placed over my head, tousling my hair again in the process. Next, she fastened a charm bracelet around my wrist. "You need some jewelry, too. Mom, take a look." Cynthia yelled as she led me into the bathroom. Goodness, that is a pretty sight, Mom exclaimed after she walked in. Nobody will think he's a boy, or she's a boy. Cynthia laughed. That's no boy, it's my long-lost sister Patricia. Mom. Is this necessary? I blurted. Well, sweetie, I believe you're the one who got your last pair of jeans covered with mud, so for today, it will be appropriate for us to refer to you as a girl, Patricia, since that's how you look right now, Mom said sternly, then more gently, and quite good, don't worry, it will be fine. Okay, sorry, I know I messed up, I said, I'm fine for today. Mom hugged me and said, and you look wonderful. Of course, my sister seemed to enjoy making a bit of mischief and asked, can Patricia wear a bit of makeup, Mom? To make sure she looks really good? My little sis should look her best. I could see through her eyes that she was silently laughing out loud. You're always pestering me about wearing makeup, and I'm wearing some today. Yes, sweetie, and it looks great on you, Mom replied to my sister, certainly yes, Patricia, she caught herself, should definitely join you. So I sat for another 15 minutes while Mom painted my eyes, cheeks, and lips, while CYN offered occasional suggestions and plenty of flattering statements. You really do look like my little sister now, Trisha, I love it. By then, we were running behind our planned departure, but not that badly. Mom hustled us out the door. Since it was the middle of summer, I had no need for a jacket, and wearing a dress that bared my legs felt very comfortable. But I was still, self-conscious of it every moment, especially with a purse, makeup, and jewelry. Mom's car had died a few months ago, and she wasn't able to get a new one yet, so we took the bus, as usual. Well, wearing a dress on the bus wasn't usual, but nobody seemed to be staring at me, so I mostly just looked down at the striped skirt and ruffled socks. Mom did whisper a reminder to me to keep my legs together, but I could figure that out easily enough. Fortunately, the bus went directly to the mall where, of course, we would check out the discount stores. It was a bit breezy as we walked across the parking lot, and there were moments where I had to hold my dress down. CYN, who was wearing capri pants and a camisole with ballet flats, grinned at me each time. Mom, in her cute patterned top, black jeggings, and kitten heel sandals, seemed not to notice until we got to the mall entrance and she said, excellent decorum, Patricia, with taking care of your skirt in the wind, giving my hand a squeeze. Once we were inside, Cynthia got into conference mode with Mom, I definitely need a bra fitting now, all mine are getting too small. And new leggings. And at least a couple tops. Is that doable? Mom sighed. That's quite a bit to ask, but it's understandable. Wish it wasn't so close to end of the month. I'm sorry, Mom, too bad that, Trish, gets left out. I'm sorry, Cynthia, wish I could afford more for you. For some time, I had to watch Mom and CYN go through racks of bras, both being very picky. Finally, they went into a dressing room with a stack of them, while I sat outside, remembering to keep my legs crossed while seated, and wishing I might have been invisible. But it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes when one woman entering the dressing rooms said, "My, that's a cute dress. Aren't you trying on anything here?" I meekly explained, I'm waiting while my mom and sister are trying on bras. For my big sister, that is. I see, lucky her. While you're waiting, you should visit the cosmetics counter, which she immediately pointed to, and continued, they have some nice perfume samples today, and this place is usually stingy about samples. She tentatively moved her wrist towards me, and I could smell the scent. It's pretty, I said. Go try some, she encouraged, especially since you're looking so pretty. I couldn't believe she meant that, but I thanked her, and perhaps on a whim, did slowly walk to the counter. Sure enough, there were a couple bottles of perfume prominently displayed, and the clerk asked, "May I help you, young lady?" Would you like a sample? I nodded. You look like a classic rose sort of girl. That's a classic dress you're wearing. Again, I nodded and allowed her to spritz the scent on my wrist and neck. I inhaled and said, "That's nice." At that point, I could see Mom and Sis coming out of the dressing rooms, so I quickly excused myself and walked back over to them. "First part of mission accomplished," Trisha said CYN, and then whispered, "Lucky you don't have to grow boobs, what an annoyance." I laughed to myself, and I could tell she noticed. "But seriously," she spoke out loud, "I still need to get tops and leggings and maybe shoes, but that won't take as long." "Ooh, you smell pretty, doesn't she, Mom?" I blushed as Mom said, "Yes, you do, Patricia." As she predicted, the rest of Cynthia's shopping didn't take too long, although she complained about having to buy larger sizes. Mom made her wait on new shoes until next month, but offered to buy a dress, which CYN declined. Instead, she said, "Since this shopping has been all about me, let's give Trisha a chance to try on something, even though you can't afford it." "Just for fun?" "I don't see why not," Mom said. I was completely clueless as to how to react, but both were soon browsing the girls' dress rack, and in a few minutes, they had accumulated a few items. As they led me to the dressing room entrance, we passed the woman who had spoken to me earlier. "Did you get a perfume sample?" she asked. I nodded and smiled. "Are you about to try something on?" "She sure is," said CYN before I could think of an answer, and proudly held up the dresses she and Mom and selected. "Those are all gorgeous. Perhaps I can stay a few extra minutes and see you model them?" Again, before my brain could operate, Mom said, "Of course, she'd love that, wouldn't you, sweetie?" And again, I could only nod. All 4 dresses that Mom and CYN had picked out were far more overtly feminine than the one I was wearing. The first one I pulled on was quite short, with a wide skirt, lovely geometric floral pattern, bell sleeves, and subtle lace trim. Next was a pink maxi dress with skinny straps and a hippie batik/tie-dye pattern. I had to remove my t-shirt for that one. Our new friend seemed to have vanished at that point, but she quickly returned with a standard shoe size ruler. "Those dresses deserve cuter shoes than those sneakers. Let me get your measurement and find something for you to try." Once it was determined my shoes were size 7.5, that didn't sound like the size I wore, but of course that was women's size. I was young, then. Next was a short, strappy, white satin dress with a halter top and very puffy skirt. I had to admit that it felt quite delightful. What was I thinking? Mom and CYN oohed and awed at that one, just as our friend showed up with a pair of white sandals with little wedge heels and delicate ankle straps. After fastening the straps, I stood up too quickly, and nearly tripped as I experienced wearing, not that, high heels for the first time. Mom and Cynthia both grabbed and steadied me, helping me to stand in front of the mirror. Mom was clearly impressed. "Wow. Those shoes make the outfit." "Thank you, Miss Overfield, Helen Overfield." "And you?" "Annie Morson." "Pleased to meet you." They shook hands, and Mom continued, "My daughters are Cynthia and, Patricia." "Oh, it looks like Trisha has one more dress to try, we don't have all day." I returned to the dressing room to change into the 4th dress, very careful about walking in the sandals. The last dress was ruffled from top to bottom, with sequins and a really pretty print. Once again, it met the approval of Mom, CYN, and Miss Helen. Again, I couldn't believe how nice it felt to wear. But that was all, and I had to change back into Cynthia's dress and my tennis shoes, and her socks. I heard Miss Overfield mentioning to Mother that she was a part-time tutor and passed on her business card. Of course, I knew Mom could not afford anything like that. But it was starting to feel natural when she told her that she had 2 very lovely daughters, and that the younger one was quite the little model. We then made our way out, after paying for Cynthia's purchases. Next stop was the nearby supermarket, where we stocked up for the next week. Mom had taught both me and CYN how to cook, so we always ate well, even if we could only rarely splurge on something fancy. No such splurge this week. We split up to make the trip shorter, so I was assigned the dry, or canned/jarred, goods. I realized how much easier it was to walk in sneakers than in those wedges I had tried on, but I had enjoyed the feeling. Once I had the items I needed, I turned to try to find Mom and CYN, but I once again had to interact with someone. She was an older woman wearing an off-shoulder top, striped, like mine, and thin black pants. With a beret she would have been 100% French-looking. All she said was, "A classic dress, dear," and we walked in opposite directions down the aisle. Riding back on the bus was quiet. We were probably all tired from carrying groceries and Cynthia's new clothes. But once we finally got home and walked up the stairs to the apartment, we all three managed to collapse for a moment on the sofa and feel the relief. But in a minute, Mom was back in form. "Okay, you kids, you girls, put away the groceries." "Aw, Mom," CYN immediately complained. Mom pushed us both up off the sofa and said, "You young ladies get to work. I'll come help make dinner in a few minutes." We both knew not to argue with that tone. After we put all the food away, Sis and I started on dinner, chopping up veggies for a stir fry and steaming rice. Mom was thrilled that dinner was almost ready when she came in. Of course, she had a few ideas for additional spices. But CYN did most of the work. I just did what she told me. When we sat down and started eating, Mom told us, not to our surprise, she was going out tonight. We could stream a movie, and there was microwave popcorn and ice cream. She only did sometimes, usually near the end of the month, but it was no surprise that after dinner, she was wearing a tight LBD and stiletto sandals, carrying a sequined clutch. Before she left, she asked, "Did you have fun today, girls, kids?" CYN laughed her classic laugh and said, "Trish and I were both girls today." Mom said, "Yes, thank you, Pat, your willingness made the day go much easier." We hugged as I said, "Thanks, Mom." Cynthia joined in, "Thanks, Mom and Sis." After Mom walked out the door, I looked quizzically at Cynthia and said, "I'm not your sister, I'm your brother." "Not today, little sister. Come on, don't be difficult, we have to do the dishes and then we can watch a movie." Well, the dishes had to be done, so I helped my sister at the sink. She said, "Sorry if I'm being annoying to you. You've been a great little brother, but it was really fun to have you as a little sister today. You took a bit off of the needling Mom sometimes gives me." She was thrilled to see you looking so pretty trying on those dresses. "Yeah," I replied, "hope she's okay tomorrow, sometimes she's pretty bad in the morning." "Oh yes," CYN said knowingly. "We do have eggs and bacon for tomorrow, I'll make that and the coffee, you can bring her breakfast in bed." It was a relief to be finished with dinner dishes. Cynthia picked out a movie and said, "Okay, let's get ready." We hadn't really done much for years, the occasional big commercial film, but at younger ages, we watched kids' movies together in our pajamas. This time, the film was going to be a high school supernatural thriller. Her pajamas this time were her typical crop top and shorts summer wear, but she insisted I was going to remain her sister for the evening, and gave me a nightie set which had given to her by our somewhat eccentric Aunt Moria, a yellow satin baby doll with matching panties. The movie was fun. We had popcorn at the midway point, and ice cream at the end. She encouraged me to talk about the fashions and the personalities of both the good girls and the bad girls. Afterwards, CYN gave me a hug and said, "This is the most fun I've had with you in a long time." "Trisha!" I said, "Thanks, sis," as I hugged back. But I was so confused, the satin outfit felt so wonderful, and I had enjoyed the day. Exhausted, I didn't realize that CYN tucked me into her bed that night, and she slept in mine. We were probably both sound asleep, but Cynthia and I both woke up and glanced at each other from across the bedroom when we heard Mom stumble in on her high heels at around 4 a.m. Love Mom, but she had a habit of doing that on Friday or Saturday night and being miserable the next morning. I dreaded that my sister would insist I deal with her first in the morning. Sure enough. Good morning, Patty. Coffee's on. Which I could already smell. You can bring it to Mom when it's ready. I rolled out of bed too slowly for my big sister's taste, realizing I was still wearing a satin nightie. You look pretty, she said. I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a taunt, but I followed her into the kitchen, where she already had eggs and bacon ready to go on the stove. Sometimes I thought Cynthia was a better cook than Mom. I'll start cooking after you bring Mom coffee, okay? And if she doesn't want to get up for another 2 hours, let me know before I start cooking. She poured a cup and added the amounts of cream and sugar that I knew Mom would appreciate, which she passed to me, and I tentatively opened the other bedroom door. I saw her black dress from the night before, and high heel pumps beside the bed. She looked completely asleep. Mom? I whispered. She seemed passed out, but soon managed to say, "Hi, honey." She was still buried under sheets when I set the coffee cup on her nightstand, but she pulled herself up and looked at me with eyes wide open. You look amazing. As you did yesterday. Where did that gown come from? I blushed and replied, Cynthia said that Aunt Moria gave it to her. She probably never wore it. No, probably not, Mom said after taking a gulp of coffee. So it's especially nice to see you wearing it. Aw, thanks, Mom. I blushed and looked down. Mom was rarely this nice to me, especially the morning after she had been out late. Pat, you know your dad was, well, not so good. I kept looking down. I had never met my dad. All Cynthia said she remembered of him was screaming between our parents. Obviously, him being a deadbeat is part of the reason we have a tougher life. I'm sorry, he's been out of my life for 10 years, but every time I think of him, it makes me feel miserable. Of course, if I had walked out sooner, you never would have been born. I didn't know what to think as Mom paused for another gulp of coffee. I'm sorry, please don't take this the wrong way. Pat, but as you have grown up, you have started to show resemblances to him. I sometimes see his impulsiveness in you, and that hasn't been pleasant for me to experience. Oh, I'm so sorry, that's horrible to say to my child. She sighed emotionally before continuing, but yesterday, and right now. I see a beautiful, responsible, friendly and sociable girl who's nothing like her father. I nodded. If nothing else, I knew my mom's ex-husband, my father, was certainly neither responsible nor friendly. Ah, come here, she continued and proceeded to give me a big hug, more affectionate than I'd had from her in a long time. What are you waiting for? CYN yelled. Mom and I were jolted out of our embrace, she said. You go deal with your sister, I'll be there in a moment. True, Mom was still in bed in what might have been black lingerie she wore the night before. At least I thought I caught a glimpse, but not my business. I went into the kitchen, and Cynthia was ready to start cooking. Is Mom ready? Yes or no? I replied, yes, I think she is. Okay, great. Soon enough, CYN was ready to serve eggs and bacon. Of course, that provided her an excuse to call me lazy and slap me with the spatula. Hey, don't get any grease on Aunt Moria's nightie. I retorted. Sis just rolled her eyes, as if she would care. But while you're here, make yourself useful, put in some toast, you can at least cook that. I had taken care of that, and we had the table set by the time Mom walked into the kitchen, looking much more assembled in loose athletic pants and tank top. She poured another cup of coffee, thanking Cynthia for making it and for cooking breakfast. We all enjoyed a Saturday meal together. Of course, I felt really strange wearing a satin nightie and panties, but the events of the last day and this morning made me feel more comfortable around my mom and sister than I had for a long time. Does anyone want seconds? I volunteered. Just a little bit. Me, too, Mom and Sis replied. I stood up, took their empty plates, walked to the stove, and divided the remaining food between them. It still felt strange to be wearing girls' nightwear at breakfast. Oh well, I knew we'd do laundry today, I'd have clean jeans, and this episode would be over with. Sure enough, Mom said, okay girls, we need to go to the laundromat today. We all need clean clothes. And Cynthia was more than happy to agree. We finished breakfast, and Mom said, you girls get ready to go out. When CYN and I were back in our bedroom, she said, hope it isn't tough on you, sis, as I put on the same dress I had worn the day before. This time, CYN insisted I wear a pullover training bra that she had outgrown. You wear my hand-me-downs so well, sis. Mom had changed into capri-length jeans, a white ruffle blouse, and wedge sandals, CYN me wearing shorts and a t-shirt with cute gold sandals. And then the three of us went out with a cart full of laundry. It was nearly a 5-block walk with a very full cart, so we shared pushing and navigating. Mom was pissed when she saw my mud-covered jeans and t-shirt. She washed them in the laundromat sink before she put them in the actual washer, glowering at me the entire time. CYN was no help, she just said, you shouldn't be such a dork, sis. But once all the clothes were in the washing machines, both Mom and Cynthia sat down next to me and put their arms around me. I knew I had to learn to be better, but they were both forgiving. And yes, Mom was not pleased that those jeans took extra time to wash. While they were going through a second cycle, the woman at the adjacent machine greeted us. While taking hers out of the wash, I couldn't help overhearing, I hate those thick stains. Fortunately, none in these loads, since the apartment washer is broken, so I had to come here to the laundromat. Cynthia said, my stupid brother's fault. Fortunately, I don't have to deal with that, although one growing girl is enough work. She looked at Mom and said, 2 plus a boy must be awful work. Mom laughed and said, yes, 2 girls would probably much easier. Cynthia immediately giggled, too, grinning at me. And glad my bratty little brother isn't here, as she giggled again. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself, I'm Elise, Mrs. Leavenworth. The three of us shook hands with her as Cynthia introduced all three of us, my mom, Annie, I'm Cynthia, and this is Patricia. Surely I must have blushed, as Elise went on, I have a few of my daughter's dresses that she has outgrown. I'm washing before giving to a charity store. Would either of you girls like them? If they fit? They're mostly girls' size large. Too small for me, Cynthia answered, I'm wearing junior sizes now. But I bet they'd fit Patty. Mom said, that sounds wonderful. We can always take them to a thrift store if they don't fit her. Perfect, that will save me a trip, and if they can go to good use, all the better. Well, I'll be putting them in the dryer right now, as she moved her cart across the room. Cool! You can put on a fashion show for me and Mom tonight, Cynthia softly exclaimed. An excellent idea, agreed Mom. I could only shrug, most our laundry was in the dryer already, it was my mistake holding up the last load. Mom and Mrs. Leavenworth chatted while Cynthia and I read books, something we both did avidly. I could hear Mom explain about our less than ideal living circumstances. She worked regularly in the cleaning staff at a motel that wasn't high budget, and sometimes as a convenience or grocery store clerk / checkout / stalker / whatever. She was at her worst when freaking out about making the rent, but she was calm and happy today, despite it being the end of the month. They two women stopped talking when the other dryer finished. Mom said, "Girls, Mrs. Leavenworth says she also has some shoes from her daughter out in her car. You should try them on, too." Soon enough, our first dryer finished, and the three of us set to folding clothes. It suddenly seemed strange to be folding the boy clothes I usually wear. Well, it was only folding. We were ready to start folding the next load, when Elsie wheeled her laundry cart over on her way out. "Here are 4 dresses for Patricia, I hope they fit." They were already on hangers, and looked a bit fancy, with obvious pink, white, and yellow. "Thank you so much, Elsie," Mom said, pat. "Patricia, why don't you go out with Mrs. Leavenworth and try on those shoes she has? Cynthia and I can finish folding. Even those jeans that were such a chore." "Okay, Mom," I said softly. "Come along, Patricia," said Elise Leavenworth, and I followed her out of the building. The generic sneakers I was wearing were plenty comfortable, I thought as Mrs. Leavenworth told me, "I hope those dresses work for you." Jamie, that's my daughter, looked pretty in all 4. I just nodded and smiled as we reached her car. She opened the trunk and pulled out a grocery bag. Then she opened the passenger door and had me sit down. I was careful to keep my skirt close as I got into the car. The first pair she passed me was an adorable pair of white Mary Janes. I slid off my shoes and worked my foot into the right one, but it was clearly too tight. "Looks like your feet might be a bit large, let's try this pair next." It was a pair of wedge sandals, and with their open toes and heels, I could squeeze into them without much trouble. But the loafers, slippers, and pink sneakers were also too small. "Oh well, 1 out of 4 isn't bad," she told me. Back inside, Mrs. Leavenworth proudly announced, "Patricia will be inheriting my daughter Jamie's first pair of heels." Mom and Cynthia both hugged me, although I didn't understand the ado. By then, our laundry was all finished and folder. We bade goodbye to Elise, she had exchanged contact information with Mom, and rolled our laundry cart down the street on the way back home, weighed down with 4 extra dresses and a pair of shoes. "All right, kids, put your clean clothes away," Mom ordered as soon as we were in the door of our apartment. "Except for the dresses Trish is showing us tonight, right, Mom?" "Absolutely, Cynthia. Trish has plenty of other clothes to put away right now." It was a relief that all my jeans were now clean, I thought, as I put them, and my other regular guy clothes away. The last couple days were interesting, but I was ready to get back to normal, although I realized that probably wasn't going to happen tonight. I heard a phone ring, and then a bit of conversation from Cynthia, and then her classic yell, "Mom." Kathy said that she and Nadia are asking all the girls on the team to wear our color on our nails tomorrow. "Do you have turquoise polish?" And equally typically, Mom responded, "Please, young lady, you don't need to yell across this small apartment." "But yes, I think so, let's go check." As they walked into Mom's room, CYN turned to me, and beckoning, said, "You, too, Patty." Mom did have quite a collection of makeup. She had to rummage through disorganized nail polish vials, but she finally found one and asked Cynthia, "This is the color, right?" CYN squinted at it for a moment and said, "Yeah, that looks great, Mom. Can you help me with some, and Trish, too?" I had seen Mom paint Cynthia's nails before, and her paint her own, but now they insisted on my participation. Well, I just had to sit back while CYN did my toes, and Mom did my fingers in a coral pink color. Cynthia insisted that Mom took a photo of her hands above mine, showing our alternating turquoise, her, and pink, me, fingers. Of course, Mom loved it. "Will this come off?" I asked. "I can show you how, sis," said CYN. "You should try on that matching pink dress Mrs. Leavenworth gave you." While Mom and sis went to the kitchen, I went into our bedroom, pulled off the dress I had worn the last 2 days, and pulled on the solid pink dress with a large bib collar and full, short, skirt. I looked at myself in the mirror and admitted it did look cute. I then slipped into my new sandals, which showed off my pink toes perfectly. At first, I nearly fell on my face in the sandals. The heels weren't that high, but much more than I was used to. I walked out of the bedroom and said, "Hi." Both gals gasped and smiled. "Ooh, spin around in that, Trish," Cynthia exclaimed. I smiled and complied. "So cute," said Mom. It was strange, but fun, to feel the skirt swish around my legs as I twirled. I was just glad I didn't lose my balance from going around once. "Perfect timing," Mom continued. "Can you set the table?" "Sure, Mom. What are we having?" Cynthia immediately answered, "Pasta, veggies, pesto sauce that I made with basil from the community garden and garlic I chopped." "Well, Mom helped. She got the olive oil. Thanks, Mom." I set plates, silverware, and glasses of water on the table. Mom brought the pasta, and CYN brought the mushrooms, peppers, and capers with pesto. It was delicious, and my small family was all smiles. Although Mom did remind me to be careful to not spill sauce on my new dress, so I was sure to eat carefully. After we finished, Cynthia wondered, should Trish try out some more makeup? That might look even prettier. Mom didn't ponder long before saying, "We could do that." "Tell you what, Mom, I'll clear the table and wash dishes while you take care of her." "That sounds perfect, CYN. Come along, Trish." I followed Mom back to her bedroom, where she sat me on her chair, and started the application. I flinched as she lined my eyes and put mascara on the lashes, although the eyeshadow wasn't so awkward. She put some sort of cream on my face, then powder, and finally brushed red powder onto my cheeks. I had no idea what to expect, but she took a step back to take a look every so often, and seemed to react positively each time. She smiled, fluffed my hair, and said, "You're almost ready, your sister has to see this." "Oh, Cynthia," she called in a voice that was much less brash than her older daughter's, yet just as compelling. Cynthia bounded in the room, looked at me, and her jaw dropped. "So, Mom, how did you replace Patricia with an 18-year-old goddess?" I gulped. That was a few years older than me. "Has she seen this?" "Not yet," Mom replied. "She can put on her own lipstick. I did the rest." "Turn around, dear," she continued. I swiveled on the stool and looked in the mirror. I definitely did not recognize the face. I can't believe it," I stammered. "You are such a doll." "And great job, Mom." "Do you like it, sis?" "It is pretty. And even more so when you put on your lipstick like Mom said." Mom, clearly agreeing with Cynthia, handed me a tube. I removed the cap, looked into the mirror, and held the pink stick up to my lips. I managed to get it on target for the most part, I think, and both gals seemed pleased with the results. It did add an extra something when I smiled at the mirror. "Should I try on another one of the dresses from Mrs. Leavenworth?" I asked, still staring at myself in the mirror, pink dress, makeup and all. "Absolutely, we don't have too much longer before bedtime, so you pick one more for tonight." "I have to work early tomorrow, you know that, and Cynthia, you have early swim practice, correct?" Cynthia nodded. "Yeah, Mom, not as early as you." As Mom sighed, I walked back to the kids' bedroom. I pulled off the pink dress, and picked up a yellow one from the top of the pile. It had an interesting diagonal stripe bubble/dot pattern, in white, and sort of a faux bow right in front. Like the previous one, it was high-necked, and quite short, ruffled at the hemline. The material seemed even finer and softer, which felt nice against my skin. I couldn't think of which one I liked better, both were cute to see and fun to wear. Mom and Cynthia had gone to the living room, and both enthusiastically greeted me wearing the yellow dress. I couldn't help but show off, twirl and sashay a bit. Yes. I was beginning to decide that wearing a dress was fun, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to admit that to my family. Still, it was a nice family experience to sit between Mom and CYN while we watched TV for a while. Well, except Cynthia reminding me several times to keep my legs together in a short dress. I don't think Mom was paying much attention to that, but I realized I was soon compulsively smoothing the skirt as I sat. Okay, girls. Time for bed, Mom ordered. Cynthia, you'll ride your bicycle to swim team? Yeah, Mom, I told you. After that, I'm going to hang out with Kathy and some of the other girls on the team. I'll be home for dinner. And what about you, young lady? Mom looked at me quizzically as she spoke. I don't know. I thought I'd ride my bike to the park, and... Mom cut me off. Isn't that exactly what got you into trouble this weekend? Making a complete mess of yourself? Yeah, Mom. I admitted. So something else, okay? Yeah, Mom. Good, let Cynthia know what your plans are before she leaves for swim practice. Or Cynthia, if you have any ideas for your sister, feel free to tell her what she'll do. No problem, Mom. Cynthia instantly replied, okay, Mom. Followed from me a moment later. Now you two get a good night's rest, she said, as she vacated to her room. Cynthia pointed out that I had still been Patricia all day, and now had nail polish on, so I'd be sleeping in the little nightgown again. She said, so cute, once I had changed out of the dress into it. She was wearing her usual tank top and shorts. Come on, we better get your makeup off, she added, so we walked into the bathroom. She helped me with removal oil and cleansing pads before we finished our routine. But what about these? I asked, as I held my pink-painted fingers in front of my sister. Oh, that will take a while, but I'll show you what to do tomorrow before I leave for practice. Looks like you'll have all day, anyway. I shrugged. Okay, sis, and she hugged me back. They look really pretty on you. With that, we made our way back to our bedroom and got into our beds. I was nearly asleep when Cynthia whispered, hey, sis. I wanted to ignore, but mumbled, yeah. Trish, did you like trying on those dresses today? You really did look pretty, prettier than most girls I know. I sighed. I don't know, sis, it's just strange. I'm really ready to go back to being Patrick. But that doesn't mean you didn't like it, does it? I sighed again. Maybe not, but I'm ready to fall asleep. CYN quietly huffed, but sympathetically said, sorry, Patrick. Patricia. I didn't want to put you on the spot, I'm just curious about what my favorite sibling is thinking. I'm your only sibling. Cynthia buried her head under her pillow as she laughed. That's right, Trish, now you go to sleep,